Hello everyone, it's 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥, and this morning I listened to An Evening with 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐴. 𝐒𝐡𝐴, of course, brings together world famous pop star Bruno Mars and alternative R&B powerhouse Anderson Paak. And while this pairing was quite surprising when it was announced a while back due to the different worlds they seem to come from, it actually makes sense when you consider that both of these artists have come to lean more and more on classic pop and soul sounds from decades past, especially Bruno Mars, who has become kind of king of pastiche, the peak of which probably came with his 24 Karat Magic album in 2016. It's quite shocking to think that that was 5 years ago now, when Bruno still seems to be one of the biggest pop stars in the world. For me and many other music fans, Bruno's early hits felt near unbearable in their triteness at times, but his music has become better produced, better written, and just all round more enjoyable for me as the years have gone by. My favourite track of Bruno's is probably Finesse with Cardi B. It actually throws back to the sounds of the 90s, this song, the sounds of my childhood. Cardi B's best performance ever on that track for me too. I first heard Anderson Paak back in 2015 on Dr. Dre's Compton album, and the track that he featured on, Animals, was actually a standout on the album for me. Anderson has a pretty unique singing voice, and he's a great rapper and drummer to boot. Unfortunately, I slept on his Malibu album in 2016, but I've listened to and enjoyed everything he's put out since then. I think Ventura is probably the most consistent album I've heard from him, but for me, 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 had more memorable highlights, especially the irresistible Tints featuring Kendrick Lamar. So I can live with a peace of mind without niggas taking a piece of mine and peace be still. And I think that was one of the last times we heard from Kendrick, before he disappeared. But as you can hear, the kind of classic production style of that track definitely points the way to what we've been hearing in the more recent 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐴 singles. And 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐴's Leave the Door Open is probably one of my favorite songs of 2021. The second single, Skate, was great as well, and this album has honestly been one of my most anticipated of the year. So do me a favor and click the like button on this video, and let's get into the album. The album opens with an introduction, the 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐴 intro, and bizarrely this was actually released as a single on the same day as Leave the Door Open, but as a standalone release. It has legendary bassist and funk personality 𝐜𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐬𝐿 introducing the band and album, all over this lush and groovy instrumental.
It is I, Blaster of the Universe.
It sets up the mood of the album really well, and unsurprisingly works much better here as an introduction than it did as a standalone single. Production sounds gorgeous already. Track 2 is the lead single that started it all, Leave the Door Open, an outrageously beautiful song. I've loved it from the moment I first heard it. It just sounds like they went into it with the intention to make the ultimate song with perfect melodies, performances, and production, and they did just that. The song just soars with its beauty in the uplifting chord changes and lush production, with the incredibly strong vocals of Bruno Mars in the chorus really being the cherry on top of it all. I've been listening to this one since it came out, and it's honestly one of my favorite songs of the year. And the live version that you can find on Spotify is incredible too, by the way. Now track 3, Fly As Me, the first new song on the album, it's an entirely different beast. It's dry and funky as hell, contrasting really nicely against Leave the Door Open. It's still coming from that place of 70s nostalgia, of course, but just an entirely different angle. And this juxtaposition is what gets explored as the album continues, between the lush, beautiful soul and the low down and dirty funk, and all the grey area between. For me, the way Anderson Paak raps on this one reminds me of southern rap like Outkast and Goody Mob. No doubt because those guys were also influenced by the same kind of dirty funk that the 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐴 lads are channeling here. Okay, now have you ever been with a player? Take you downtown where they treat me like I love this song. I wasn't expecting anything nearly this nasty on the album. I thought it was going to be smooth all the way, but the attitude on this is just ugh. Amazing bass line, so groovy. I love it. Track 4 is called After Last Night, and this features Thundercat on the bass and vocals from 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐼. This one's more of a sweet ballad with some gorgeous vocal harmonies. But 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐼 brings some of that funky attitude into the track. It's tongue-in-cheek, but just so well executed. It's great fun. And we even get an epic guitar solo here. Like, it had to have one, didn't it? With the ludicrous levels of passion being expressed in this song. And if that was the song of passionate love, the next one, Smoking Out the Window, is the come down of the breakup. Equally melodramatic and hilarious, while also sounding incredible. This one was released as a third single shortly before the album's release. I only heard it once before the album though. And while I did enjoy it a whole lot, it's not quite as strong as the other singles for me. I just don't find the melodies quite as enthralling. It's very entertaining though. Track 6 is called Put On a Smile. And this one is a bit of a slow burner compared to the rest of the album, less of an adrenaline rush. It's a beautiful, sorrowful ballad though, and it works well to give you a breather between the delirious joy of much of the rest of the album. Bruno Mars' vocals are excellent again. Like everything's okay. Oh, now I try to be the life of the party. And Anderson Paak's drumming, while excellent throughout, is especially impressive on this one. He unleashes this little drumming showpiece towards the end of the track. Sounds fantastic. The next track is 777, and this is another funky jam in the vein of Fly As Me. But this one is a celebration of good times in Las Vegas. It hits hard and is no doubt going to go down well in casinos everywhere. But check the recording. Ooh, just touchdown. Up a few fast. Big booty hoes with me in the Perhaps this one feels a little less significant than some of the more emotional tracks here. It's also the shortest track on the album, but I have to say its energy is undeniable. Let's go! Track 8 is Skate, and this one was released as a second single a while back now, and it was a pretty satisfying follow-up to Leave the Door Open. It stands out on the album as the only straight-up disco tune. Of course, that feels right at home with all the other 70s influences though. It's another slice of beautiful production and wonderfully memorable melodies. It reminds me of listening to Michael Jackson's Off the Wall as a kid. And you know, a lot of this album puts me in touch with the magic of a lot of the joyous music I enjoyed back then. I suppose a lot of people probably feel that way about this stuff. And that just leaves us with the last track on this very concise album. It's called Blast Off. And what a way to close the album. On the one hand, returning to the lush soul sound of Leave the Door Open, more of those incredibly uplifting and magical chord changes. But eventually it takes things quite a bit further, first with another outrageous guitar solo. Later with some glorious rising chords paired with lyrics about soaring to the moon and stars. It's pure magic. Those chord changes.
Happy trails, Baba.
What an absolutely blissful album. Throughout the whole thing, they sound like they know exactly what they're doing. They crafted every one of these songs to elicit the maximum amount of joy out of you. The album is short by modern standards, but it just feels so satisfying. Absolutely no filler, flawless production on every track, and Bruno Mars and Anderson Paak both consistently playing to their strengths. Anderson's rhythm, both in his vocals and in his drumming, and Bruno's powerful and emotional singing. singing. It all just comes together perfectly. As I mentioned earlier, I feel like this album has reignited a passion in me for music I loved more when I was younger, and I'm really keen to explore more of the funk, soul, and disco influences that this album tributes with so much love. So in the description you can find links to my Discord and Twitch channels. Join us on the Discord if you'd like to chat with me and the community more about this music, and if you'd like to join me for some full album listening parties, follow me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/𝐒𝐻𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me with the link in the description to buy me a coffee. It really helps me to be able to keep making these videos, keep my channels going, so I really appreciate it. And thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take it easy.